having been informed by the State Department that I was not going to be accepted and become a Foreign Service officer, I was downcast and depressed. I went back to the University of Maryland. I continued taking my courses towards my PhD, wondering, well, where would I go next? Would I become a college teacher or get into public administration? What might it be? I even realized that since my scores were going to run out at the end of 2 years, I had maybe another 4 or 5 months left, that I would sign up and take the Foreign Service exam again with the idea of starting the process all over again. Of course, I would have to pass. I'd have to pass another oral exam. The odds were probably against me making it through a second time. And I didn't take it too seriously. I went out and stayed out late on the Friday night before the test, down at the bars in College Park, out with my fellow graduate students and friends, partying it up at the Varsity Grill and the Rendezvous Inn. And next morning, pretty groggy when I woke up, I made it to the test, went in with a headache and took it 3.5 hours. And then a couple of months later, got the results again, and I passed with even higher scores. So I thought, well, maybe there's still a chance, but didn't know what would happen with my medical issue. And in trying to figure out what to do and where to go, and I decided I would go and visit my uncle who lived in Huntington, West Virginia. Nothing to do with the Foreign Service or my exam, but my mom had recently passed away. Her brother, my uncle, Uncle Joe Farrell, was her last living relative. I wanted to have some connection to the Farrell family, and so I got on the train at Union Station in Washington and made my way to Huntington. He had a wonderful family, 4 boys, 1 girl, very happy home. I was there. We went out on Friday night when I arrived. Remember going to Shakey's Pizza. Over the weekend, as we were talking, I told him about what I was doing and my PhD and my medical problems. And my Uncle Joe Farrell was a physician, family physician. And he said, well, look, Monday, why don't you come with me and come down to my office? So I delayed my return. I was supposed to go back on Monday, but I delayed my return and went with him down to his office building, which was in the Huntington Bank building. It's about 8 or 9 stories, pre-World War II building. And we went up to his office, and then he said, come with me. And we went up 1 more floor, and we visited a physician who was sort of the local urologist. And, you know, it's a little 1 person, 1 nurse office, 1 examining room, and a little entryway. And we went in, and my Uncle Joe introduced me to this doctor, and he said, tell him about your issue. I told him all about my orthostatic proteinuria, all the tests. And I had a file this thick of all these reports and assessments that had been done at Georgetown University. I explained in great detail to this local urologist, and he said, well, give me a specimen. So I went in the room, I provided the specimen, brought it out. He poured it into a test tube, put it in a centrifuge, turned it on, spun around a few times. Didn't seem like it ever really got up to full speed. He took it out, he held it up to the light like this, looked at it and said, it looks clear to me. And he then wrote a letter for me saying, I have examined Kenneth Quinn, and I found him to be free and clear of any urological problems. So here is small-town urologist, Huntington, West Virginia, versus one of the most eminent urologists in America at Georgetown. However, this small-town urologist in Huntington apparently went to all the meetings of the American Urological Society because he was the president-elect of the society. And on his letterhead, it said at the very top, from the office of the president-elect of the American Urological Society. So here I have this letter. It's just one paragraph on this nice letterhead. I walk into the State Department. I go to the Office of Medical Clearances. I hand it in to the clerk there. He opens it up. He reads it. He takes out my file, that big, thick file. He looks at me and he says, "Well, you're in," and puts it in the folder. And a couple of weeks later, I get a letter inviting me to come in August 1967 and become part of what was known as the 80th A100 class. That's the name of the entry training program, and be sworn in as a Foreign Service officer in August. And that's where and how my Foreign Service career actually began, and where the story takes another turn.